Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to this live training. It's called How to Dominate Your Market and Become the Number One Recruitment or Search Firm in Your Sector without having to hire a massive team of consultants, regardless of even the most cutthroat competitors and in any economic climate. And obviously,
Hi,
here.
folks. Good afternoon, good morning, and welcome to this week's webinar.
Perfect. Look, so let's dive right into the content. So, welcome to this live training, how to dominate your market and become the number one recruitment or search firm in your sector without having to hire a massive team of consultants, regardless of even most cutthroat competitors. And it's something you can do in any economic climate as well. So, basically, again, just for any of you that don't know me or Terry, or my name is Drew Edwards. It's Terry Edwards, father and son team. I'm the son before he makes that joke. So Terry, I think you've been working with recruiters for over 25 years, me about 12 years, helping them with their sales, marketing, delivery. Basically, what we're going to be doing in this session, we're going to be pulling together some of the things we've learned or observed over the years we've been doing this on what it takes to really propel you from where you are now, propel your recruitment search business from where you are now to where you want to be. Don't really dominate the market, dominate the attention of your potential clients, dominate the attention of your candidates, so you can really grow the business that you really want. Again, someone check in. Does that make sense? Give us a yes or no in the chat box. And Terry, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, a lot of what we're sharing with, as Drew said, we've spoken to literally thousands of recruiters, and one of the things that we, Drew and I, both believe in is this psychological term called modeling success. It's learning through mirroring the actions of taken by those who already success in the area that you want to succeed in. So we haven't reinvented anything here at all. We're going to share with you what the most successful recruitment and search firms have done to dominate their market. The approach of modeling came about at the beginning of the 1960s, and it's used by many people to achieve their goals real quick. One of my mantras is, if somebody's doing it, we know it's possible. If several people are doing it, look at what they're doing. If you kind of do very much the same thing, you're going to get pretty much the same result. So that's what we're doing here. Back to you, Drew.
Perfect. Yes, Bob, I'll try and speak a bit slower. In fact, before we get into content, it's one of a promise or I guess an agreement between us and you. We're going to be here delivering this content. We're here to answer any questions you've got. So if you've got any questions, there's a chat box. Some of you have already put yes or hello in the chat box already. Any questions as we go along, please use that chat box. We've got about 15 minutes from now together, right? So 15 minutes to dive into this content. We are going to be answering any questions. As I said, we are going to be covering a lot of detail. What I will say as well, for the next 50 minutes, so 55 minutes, commit to this session, right? Turn off your emails, turn off your Facebook, turn off your LinkedIn. Again, you're going to get out of this what you put in. Again, we're willing to give everything we know, knowledge-wise, for the next 50 minutes. Bearing in mind that, we're going to obviously be scraping the surface because it's 50 minutes. Going to get a commitment from you for the next 50 minutes. You're going to be fully engaged. Everything's going to be switched off. And you're actually going to be involved yourself in this session. If that's okay, if you can get agreement from you, that just give me a yes in the chat box. If it's a no, no hard feelings. Nothing wrong with that. If you've got things you need to do, go away and do them. Again, I'm absolutely fine with that as well. Just we want people here who are going to be fully committed to the content, fully committed to learning in this session. Give me a yes or no in the chat box. If it's no, then go away. Terry, anything you want to add to that before we dive in?
No, I just want to really endorse that. You'll get out of this what you put in. See some old faces here. Hi, Jordan, Daryl, bonsoir. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. So look, let me just dive in, right? So the reason we wanted to put on this session is because like Terry said, or like we mentioned before, we speak to a lot of recruitment search business owners all over the world, and almost without exception, one of the things that you probably set up for, or a few of the things you probably set up in business for, is autonomy. Be able to do what you want to do when you want to do it, financial independence or financial security, and ultimately freedom to spend time with your family, your friends, doing what it is you enjoy. But what we find is, a lot of the people we speak to have got almost the opposite to that, right? There's a lot of frustration when it comes to growth, a lot of, I guess, instability. They've got up and down yo-yo months. A lot of, we find a lot of people are sacrificing time away from their family, from their friends, from doing things they love because they're having to support this business, right? So we wanted to put on a training that really looks at some of the habits, some of the patterns, some of the I guess, criteria or rules you need to follow to sort of get away from that and really give you that autonomy, give you that financial independence and security, and give you that freedom that you probably set up in business to achieve. Just want two things on check-ins. Give me yes in the chat box if that makes sense. And Terry, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just the other thing I would say something like 99% of recruitment and search business owners are former recruiters that then decide to go off on their own. Very rare do you meet a recruitment and search business owner that's never done it before. And it is very much those things there. And by the way, if there's anything else for you, let us know. But you want that autonomy, you want that financial independence, you want that security, you want that freedom. If you got a family, you want the freedom to go to the school plays and pick the year ones up. You want to do things the way you want to do it. That's the goal that many people, when they set up in business, have. For many, though, it doesn't turn out that way, and they almost end up being, I'm trying to think what the right word is. There's an element of frustration the way things are going, because after a few months or few years, they say things like, "Not quite how I planned it, Terry. Things aren't going the way that I want to go." The good news is, first of all, it's not your fault. I want to say that straight and first and foremost, because you haven't been shown how to do this. How would you know? And the good news is that the very fact that other recruiters can do this, and in many cases they've worked it out for themselves. We want to save you having to work it out for yourself. We want to share with you exactly what it is that they're doing, so you can do it as well and get very much the same results. So you can get that autonomy, you can get that financial freedom and security, and you can get that freedom to do what you want to do when you want to do.
Perfect. So look, we're going to dive into the 6 rules, 6 habits, whatever word you want to use, right? 6 secrets, doesn't really matter. All of these be interlinked, but they're all equally important, right? So again, some of them you may be doing already, some of them not. But again, if you want to sort of achieve what you want to achieve in your business, I strongly recommend, strongly urge you to adapt all of them as much as you can, right? So the first rule for market domination, the first rule to dominate your market and become the recruiter of choice in your sector is to position yourself at the top of the mountains. And rule number 1 is to position yourself at the top of the mountain. And just to explain what we mean by this, right? So positioning dictates things like, the fee you can charge. It dictates the type of clients you can work with. It dictates the amount you work. It dictates, really everything in your business, right? When we say position, it's basically it's how you're viewed. And there's fall into 3 main categories. We've got competitor positioning, which is how are you viewed by your competition? Do they view you as a threat? Do they view you as an authority in the marketplace? Do they view you as someone with a good reputation, right? You've got competitor positioning. Do they even know you exist? Another question, right? Then we've got market positioning. This is how your prospects and potential clients view you. Again, do they view you as a recruiter of choice? Do they view you low end, high end? Do they view you as an authority? Again, do they even know you exist? Which is probably the most important part. Do they know you exist? And then we've got self positioning, which is really how you view yourself. It more comes down to mindset. Do you view yourself? Like, how do you rate your service? Do you view your service as one of the best in your sector? Or do you view it as average? Or do you view it as one of the, on the lower end, right? There's 3 types of position, and all of these are at play in how you operate day to day in your business, right? But, what we found is that the only one, competitive position we can ignore. It doesn't really matter how your competitors view you. It's not going to dictate how much revenue you make, how much profit you make in your business. The 2 that are really, really important, market position, obviously, how your prospects view you, but I think one that probably gets overlooked is self-positioning, how you view yourself. Because again, when we first got into this, we used to talk about market positioning all the time and the importance of it and look at ways we can improve that and influence that. But the longer we've been doing this, the more I've realized is that actually your market position is dictated by how you view yourself. And if your mental game isn't in the right place, if you don't view yourself as a premium player in your field, if you don't view yourself as one of the top firms, again, in terms of level of service, not in terms of number of clients you can attract, but in terms of level of service, you're never going to hit that level. Again, just want to check in. Does that make sense? Give me a yes or no in a chat box, right? So your self-positioning comes before market positioning, and the market positioning dictates the fee you're able to command, the clients you're able to attract, right? Self-positioning dictates your behavior. So what we find is when people don't got the self-positioning, they don't do the outreach. They don't do the videos. They don't do the content. They don't put themselves out there to do what they need to do to get the market positioning. Terry, again, just let me know if that makes sense. Again, do want to hear from all of you. Any questions, let me know as well. And Terry, anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, I'm sure I've shared this story with you. I know I've shared it with you, Drew, but I'm sharing it with a few of the people that I've spoken to before. 2 years ago, I was speaking to a recruiter based in North America. He recruits country managers. Typical salary is about 300,000 per annum. Is sort of typical salary. So this would be a country manager, say, work in Germany for a manufacturing company or whatever. And he said something that I have never ever forgotten. I said, "I'm curious what your fees," and he said 45%. And I was like, "Oh, 45%, that's unusual. Why 45%?" And his response was, "Because I'm worth it." See, his self-positioning was that he was at the top end of the market And if clients wanted the best people for this role, they had to pay him 45% of the base salary. Just think about it a minute. If he's recruiting at salaries of 300,000. The other thing that it's worth mentioning, majority, I'd say 99% of the recruiters I talk to, I say, do you do a good job? And they always say yes. In fact, I'm going to say as 100% of recruiters always say I do a fantastic job. In fact, I do a better job than most of my competitors. And I then say this, do your fees reflect that? And they say, no, it's a competitive market. So here's what the interesting thing though, the fee that you're asking for has got nothing to do with the market. It's got everything to do with the view of yourself and your self-positioning. I absolutely guarantee it. Most people here, your fees are somewhere in the middle. You're not the cheapest, you're not the most expensive, you're somewhere in the middle. If you think about that logically, there is no competitive advantage to being somewhere in the middle. But you will argue that your service is way above average. And and Drew talked about it's how you truly believe about yourself. Your fees, by the way, are just a reflection of your own personal self-worth. Nothing more, nothing less, but your own personal self-worth. Again, let me just check in with if that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, please let me know and we will clarify it. Just give me a yes if it makes sense and if it doesn't make sense.
And any questions, let us know as well. But what we find is the most successful recruiters have a level of arrogance about them, a level of confidence that they're not going to get out of bed for less than a certain fee. They're not going to work with a particular client. They're not going to get messed around by clients because they won't allow themselves to be. And again, we've all been there. Like we've had clients as directors, as you probably have clients saying, maybe even have a few right now who aren't returning your calls, aren't paying you on time, aren't treating you the way you deserve to be treated. Again, this comes down to a self-positioning thing. Okay, if we want to be treated a certain way by clients, then we need to start respecting ourselves, right? That's the first rule about market domination, is how you view yourself, which will then in turn reflect how the market views you as well.
Yeah, and just one more thing before we move on, Drew. This is the thing to add to that, because at some level you're already doing that. I can guarantee that everybody here, you've got a fee below which you won't work for. It's 15%, it's 10%, where you go, hell will freeze over before I work at that fee. That's just your standard. That's your minimum standard. And all of you have got different standards. That's all it is. Again, nothing to do with the market. And part of what this conversation is about, raising your standards and saying, actually, I'm worth more than this. Back to you, Drew.
So question here, so I'll put it to you, Terry, first, right? Question here from Paloma, right? And it says, makes sense. However, when you're talking to a prospect, they do not know how good you are yet. How do you show them that you can do this? How do you show them that what you can do, how do you show them what you can do is the key here? So again, just a question for you. I'll rephrase that into a question. If we're speaking to a brand new prospect and, we've got all this self-respect, how do we convince the prospect of that?
Yeah. And it's a great question. They get asked this probably every other day of the week. The process starts before you meet them. Going back to the recruiter in America who's getting fees of 150, 180,000. Think about it for a minute. If you've never met that person before, would you pay them 180,000 and he's getting a third of that fee up front? So he's getting 60, 70,000 up front. It starts before you actually meet him. It starts with effective marketing. You see, most of you here on this call today, and you know who make more placements are, you know who we are, because the relationship starts before you actually meet them. So I want to be absolutely clear. If you think you can say, right, tomorrow I'm going to charge 40% and I'm going to reach out to cold prospects and ask them 40%, that's a big ask if you've got no relationship with them whatsoever. But if you've done your marketing and they know who you are, they know what you stand for, you put out content that positions you as the authority and you've got that credibility, there's no question then about your fee. So in fact, let me make a prediction here. Get this right, and some hiring managers will say to you something like, I don't suppose there's any point in asking you for any discount. But that's all to do with your marketing beforehand as to why that's happened. Paloma, let me know if that makes sense. And anybody else, if it doesn't make sense, let me know. We'll see if we can cover it another way.
So look, moving on to rule number 2, or criteria number 2, is set your fee to create freedom, right? So rule number 2 is to set your fee to create freedom, right? So again, like we said, a lot of these are sort of interlinked. We've got position, which is how you're viewed, and we've got, I guess, off the back of that, the fee that you command, right? So everyone here, like Terry mentioned before, everyone here will have a fee that we won't get out of bed for, and a fee that, is the highest fee ever. And like Terry said, a fee is really a reflection on what we think we're worth, or what we think, how we view ourselves, our self-positioning. If you want to if you look at again, this is more about maths than anything else. If you look at the business you want to create, right, the fee that you charge is going to make that either more difficult or more easy. And what I mean by that is, if you look at this, like the higher fee you charge, think about your goal, whatever number you want to hit in your business, it doesn't matter what it is, right? Everyone's gonna be different. A higher fee means you need fewer clients to hit your goals, right? So from the marketing point of view, it means less marketing, less outreach to get that same number of clients. It means usually, again, you'll find this. Think about the best clients you ever had. They probably paid a higher fee, right? So normally, all things being equal, higher fees command more committed clients, right? You get a better quality of clients the higher your fee is. Um, and we can, like I said, we can hit our goal faster because we're working with fewer clients to hit the revenue. We can then dedicate more time, energy, attention to detail to each client, right? So actually, our service can be better. You get this sort of snowball effect where we're charging higher fees, working better clients, making more profit, but also we get delivering a better service as well, which obviously has an impact on our self positioning, right? Again, you probably feel better about yourself the more you get paid for a vacancy, right? Think about the last time you got paid your highest fee. You probably feel a sense of self-esteem, self-worth, sense of value in what you do, but also you can deliver a better service as well. So again, what it starts to do, it starts to have a massive impact on your self positioning and a massive impact on your market position as well. And you become this firm, or so if you're a solo recruiter, fine, who has, you know, you've got this really good reputation with clients. You start to get more repeat business as well. Again, just want to check in. Just want to check. Give me a yes or no if that makes sense in the chat box. And Terry, anything you want to add to that in terms of set your fee to create freedom? Give me a yes or no in the chat box. That makes sense for everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, just a real quick one. It's kind of self-explanatory, but let's say your average salary that you recruit at is 100,000. It's 100,000. What you charge for doing that should be your choice. And we've met recruiters who will charge 18%. So every placement they make, they get 18,000. But we've also met recruiters that charge 33%. So every placement they make, they're making 33,000. But it's the same amount of work. And as I was saying earlier, we have no evidence that the cheapest recruiters get all the business. No evidence whatsoever. We all know the likes of, the big search firms, and their minimum fee is 30%. That's their minimum fee. But it's the conversation you're having with yourself. And many recruiters, especially at the beginning, they say, "Oh, well, we keep our fees low because our overheads are low, and it's to get a foot in the door." Again, there's no evidence to support that, by the way. Not in recruitment, that if you're cheaper, you can get your foot in the door. What we know is if you're cheaper, you're going to attract the price buyer. And the problem with the price buyer, what they want is the lowest fee. So if you go in at 50%, but I come along at 14.5%, guess who's going to get the business? They have zero loyalty. They're buying purely on price. Makes up about 15-20% of the market. Quite frankly, those kind of buyers are a pain in the butt. They will have no respect for what you do whatsoever. What they want is they're going to say things like, "Can you sharpen your pencil? Can you do anything about this fee?" That's what they're constantly asking for. They're a pain in the butt. I would encourage you to put your running shoes on and run for the hills when you meet that type of client. They're just not worth the hassle. But 60% of clients, what they want most of all is the relationship and your expertise, not the cheapest candidate. They want the best candidate. By the way, you got any doubt about this, test it. Ask a hiring manager, "Hey, listen, before we get started on this, I'm just curious, do you look for the cheapest candidate or do you want the best? I can't give you both. I just want to know where you are." It's like 95% of hiring managers go, "No, I want the best for this particular role." And the more senior the role is, by the way, more business critical, we're going to touch on this a bit later on, that's even more important. Back to you, Drew. Sorry, we're reading the message at the same time, so nobody's talking.
That was you. Again, someone check in. Does that make sense? Give me a yes in the chat box. The question here from Daryl, right? So I'll put this to you. So how do you, in fact, I'll answer this. The question is, how do you learn to market with a small recruiting company, right? So again, short answer. Whether it's a small company or big company, and I think it's actually easier. It's easier to market a small recruitment company because you can move faster. But there's only two ways to learn how to market. One is that you relentlessly test things and measure the results. It's a painful process, but that's one way. The other way is that you invest or you learn from somebody else. There's only two ways to do it. And again, you might say I'm bound to say that because obviously we help recruiters with their marketing, but that's literally the only two ways. If you figure out yourselves, which is you can definitely do it, and you will do it, but it's slow and painful. Or you invest in someone who's already done it and you learn from them. they're the two ways. I think just on that, one of the things that always makes me laugh, and one of the worst things to do, and this is nothing against anyone on this call, is that as an industry, recruiters struggle with business development, right? That's everyone on probably on this call would admit that. One thing you should definitely not do is go to a Facebook group and ask other recruiters what they're doing for business development, because you're gonna get, again, it's not that all the answers will be bad, but the vast majority of them will be bad, and then you're gonna get bad advice. See it all the time, almost daily. I log on to Facebook. We're in quite a few Facebook groups. Someone will say, "What's everyone doing with email? Or what's everyone doing with cold calling?" There'll be 10 answers. 2 of them are good, and the other 8 are bad advice. And obviously, if you've asked a question, you don't know which one to follow, right? So again, be careful who you ask. But that's that's a short answer. Graham's asked, we're talking about contingent here, contingent, retained, exclusive, same process. And then Francis' question from Francis, should there be different fees depending on the position, lower entry to executive? This is the question for you, Terry.
Yeah, what all the evidence shows that the more senior or more business critical the role is, the more you can ask for. It's law of supply and demand. So if you go to extremes, if you're looking for a chief revenue officer, this individual can have a big impact on the bottom line. This is a business critical role. They want the best candidate. There's less pushback then on the fees than if you want. I'm not knocking somebody that recruits warehouse, but if you're looking for warehouse staff over the Christmas period when they're really busy, what they want then is they want bums on seat to get the stuff out. So it's less critical. But at the top end, when it's business critical, they like to pay a higher fee, and there's less resistance to your fees altogether. I mean, if you think, a CRO, depending on the size of the company, is going to be between 150 and 250. There's less issue about your fee. I promise you.
And that, again, it's just 2 things. Let me check in if that makes sense. Give us yes or no in the chat box. And just that brings on to rule number 3, which is to target mission critical roles. Target mission critical roles. And this is especially important. It's always important, actually, but especially when the market contracts, right, and there's less opportunity. I think we've been doing this for a few difficult markets. Terry, obviously, in 07, 08, 09, that period, with the COVID, obviously now probably similar difficult positions, right? Recruiters that struggle when it's a contractor market are one of the reasons. Again, it's not the entirety of the reason, but it's because they're not targeting mission critical roles, right? You want to make sure that you're working on roles, or you're targeting roles where no matter what's going on with the economy, no matter what's going on with the business, it's a necessity. They need it for the business to function, right? They need that role to be filled for the business to function. Sometimes you can make a lot of, when the market's really good, you can make a lot of money in roles where they're not critical, but again, they're the first to go. When things have to get tight, when things tighten up, they're the first to go, and then you're left scratching your head, not knowing when your next piece of business is coming from. For that consistency, for getting the fee you want, Terry mentioned earlier, target mission critical roles, right, where the demand doesn't disappear. Few reasons for this, that I haven't mentioned already, is obviously that they don't disappear, but obviously also as well, when they're mission critical, it's easier to win the role on either exclusive terms, where it's just you work on a vacancy, because they want, again, when I say exclusive, obviously exclusive is good for you as a recruiter, but if it's a mission critical role and I'm the hiring manager, I don't want you sending my candidates to other people, right? So the exclusivity is for me, right? So we can go to a hiring manager and say, look, Mr. Mrs. Hiring Manager, when we find these top candidates that you want, do you want me to send them just you, or are you okay with me sending them to your competitors as well? Right? I don't want you to send to my competitors. So again, it's easy to win exclusivity or retained when it's a mission critical role. Easy to win a higher fee. And again, this is an important point. If you're a recruiter who's, one of the pushback we get from this is like, I've been in this sector for so long, I've been in this role for so long, I don't want to change the role I'm hiring for. I don't want to change the sector I'm hiring in. Skills outlast industry, right? So you have a skill as a recruiter at whatever sector you're in right now. There was a point where you didn't know anything about that sector, right? You learned the sector, and then you're putting your recruiting skills to that sector. You can do that in another sector, and a more lucrative sector. Especially in COVID, we had a lot of trouble with recruiters coming to us who didn't want to change the sector. They didn't want to move away. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes when a market strategy, you have to. And remember that your skill is in the recruiting, not in the sector. Again, we obviously, you marry the two, that's when you win. But we can always learn a sector. We can always develop knowledge of a sector. Again, someone check in. Does that make sense? Give me a yes or no in the chat box. Terry, anything you want to add to that? And I'll hop on.
Just very quickly, Catherine. You say your client didn't move forward in the mission critical role. If it's a mission critical role, if they didn't move forward, I would suggest it's not mission critical. they've gone to your competitors, and so they have moved forward, but they haven't moved forward. It's not a mission critical role. If they've done nothing about it, it's not mission critical. Because when the moment it's mission critical, you've got to do something about it. Hope that all makes sense.
Cool.
Target.
Question here.
Sorry,
Terry. Question here from Daryl is it good to hire a marketing company to help you? It's difficult to say without knowing what marketing company you're talking about. And Terry, I've never actually spoke about this. I don't know if you've got different views. One of the mistakes I see here is that recruiters hire marketing companies that don't know what they're doing, right? And
you don't know recruitment.
Don't know recruitment. In fact, it's not even that. They don't know marketing. Don't know marketing recruitment. One of the things I'd say, whether you hire a marketing company, whether you outsource it, whatever, is you need to understand the process first. I see recruiters, again, a business development manager is another one. They'll hire a business development manager and say, look, go out and get me clients. And because the recruiter doesn't know how to get clients themselves, the business manager, the business development manager has no process to follow, and then it bombs, right? You need to have a process that works, that you can give to a marketing company or give to an employee or a business, whatever it is, and give to them and say, look, follow this process. I know it works. Don't hand off the most critical part of your business, in my view, which is to bring the business in. Hand it off to somebody blindly. Say, look, go and make that work. Because again, I'm not saying that there's no one who can do it. There probably is, but it's just difficult for you to know what that looks like when you don't know. You can't do it yourself. So, Terry, I hope that answers your question. Terry, I don't know if you've got a different view on that or anything.
Yeah, just the other thing I'd add to it, because we talk to recruiters every day of the week, and the other one they say is we've got our marketing and our brand's really improved. First and foremost, I don't know how you measure that at all. I don't know how you can measure how much your brand's improved. And they say our brand's really strong now. What you can measure, and I would encourage you to measure, is the number of appointments you're getting with hiring managers who are in the market for what you do, and the increase in revenue. Now, if you can measure it, and your marketing company are giving you that, that's fantastic. But examples such as improving your brand and your color matching on your logo is so much better now. Nobody cares, especially you as a business owner. What you want is more meetings with interested hiring managers, and you want to convert those meetings into fee-paying clients. That's what you want to be measuring, and that you can measure. So if you can't measure it, you can't manage it.
Question from Killer Kyla said, do you have to move industry, or can you be successful just by targeting different roles in the same industry? Yeah, to answer the question. I'm sorry, no, to answer the question. You don't have to move industry. You can just target different roles in the same industry. And again, it may be something that you go back to if you maybe the roles that you're talking about right now are not critical, but just because of what's going on in the world, but they may be another time, right? So you have to be prepared to, I guess, be fluid with this. It's better if you stay in the same industry but just do different roles. But if you have to, then move industry as well. Again, some people on the other side, so everyone's got a goal they want to hit in their business. Sometimes people are more attached to the how they're going to get there than the goal itself, right? Meaning that I've got this goal of 1 million, and I want to do it working in this market, and then that market isn't working, right? It's not working for them, but they're so attached to the how they don't want to move market. But even though you look at it from the outside and you're like, look, you just moved into this market, you could take the same processes, same skills that you've got, and put it into this market, and you'll hit your goal in no time, right? So just don't be attached to the how, be attached to the goal itself, and just do what it takes to hit that goal. And I'm not saying that means that we all need to change the industry or change sector. Sometimes we were in a good sector already, we've got the right process, but just be prepared to. Because I hope that makes sense. Awesome. So number 4, again, any questions, let me know in the chat box as well. Anything we've missed. If we've missed a question, let me know as well. Number 4 is dominate the attention of your potential prospects. Number 4 is to dominate the attention of your potential prospects. This is quite an in-depth one, right? Because every recruiter most recruiters are bad at, they haven't been taught business development. We know that already, right? But even the ones who do engage in business development, one of the mistakes they make is that, we see it so often, is that they're going after people who are looking for recruitment. And that sounds maybe sound like obvious and a bit counterintuitive, but what we want to get into the habit of doing is targeting the entire market at their different stages of awareness. And what I mean by that is, in marketing and sales, there's 5 levels of awareness that your prospects will have, right? We've got unaware, which means they are unaware that they have a problem at all, right? We've got problem aware, which means they know they've got a problem. They've got solution aware, which means, yes, I've got a problem, but I also know what the solution is, or I know what possible solutions are. We've got product aware, which is where I'm aware of the solutions, and I'm aware of your company as a recruiter, right? I'm aware that there's you and another recruiter down the road. I'm product aware, right? And then we've got most aware, which is where I'm about to make a buying decision, right? So unaware prospect, which is probably most of your industry, right? So look, think about the what you do as a recruiter. And let's talk about the process that you do, but think about the candidates you place, the outcome they can make to the organization, right? So I use sales just for just to make sense to everybody else. In fact, I use rec to rec, right? So imagine I'm a rec to rec recruiter. There's going to be like every recruiter all over the world, right? When I say they're unaware, they they they're unaware that they're unaware that they're not going to hit their revenue targets, right? That's unaware, right? They've got a problem, but they're unaware of it. They're not going to hit their revenue targets. Problem aware means that you know what I'm aware. As a recruiter, I'm aware I'm not going to hit my revenue targets, right? So I'm now problem aware. Solution aware means I'm not going to hit my revenue targets, but and I'm aware there's possible solutions. So one solution could be a rec direct. One solution could be I bring a trainer in. One solution could be that I increase my fee. There's lots of different solutions, right, to increase revenue, right? That's solution aware. Product aware means I'm now aware of the rec to rec recruiters down the road, right? I'm now product aware, and the most aware means right. I spoke to that recruiter. I'm gonna use their service, right? Guys, one check in. Does that make sense? Give me a yes or no in the chat box, and if not, I'll go for it again. Perfect. Anything you want to add to that? Just while we hear from the audience, Terry.
I've got to add to
Okay,
this
let me know if
stage
that makes
too.
sense. Cool. So perfect. So what we do as marketers, as salespeople, we target people who are product aware, most aware, right? We're ringing people up. Have you got any vacancies? We're emailing. Hey, have you got any vacancies? Where all of our content is targeting people who've got vacancies, right? And we get people who've got vacancies. When it's a buoyant market, when there's lots going on, you can win doing that. You can almost just win just by existing. When things slow down, which they will, and whether they are now for you or not, irrelevant. Like business is up and down, right? But when things slow down and people fall into the more unaware or problem aware or solution aware, we need a different approach, right? So what smart recruiters do is they're targeting all 5 levels of awareness at the same time. So we're not just talking to people who have vacancies. We're also talking to people who have a sales problem but don't know that my candidate can help that problem, right? Again, if we're checking, does that make sense? Give me yes or no in the chat box. Go on, do you want to hear? Let me know if it makes sense. Any questions? So what we want to do is we want to look at your content, look at your website, look at the things you're saying on your phone calls, look at the all of the anything you're putting out into the marketplace. Are you just talking to people that are most aware, people that are looking for a recruiter already? Again, they're the now buyers, what we call now buyers, but there's lots of future buyers that you're missing out on and completely ignoring. Smart recruiters, the ones that dominate the market, they master all level of awareness, and they've got people who are months off buying from them who know they exist because they've started to build that relationship from the start. Again, give me yes or no if that makes sense. Any questions on that, let me know. And Terry, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just it leads nicely onto what we were talking about earlier, about, to get a retainer or to get, big ticket sales from the hiring manager. As we said earlier, it happens months before you actually meet them. If you can be talking about the challenges they're having right now, perhaps it's an underperforming team or they're going to fall short of the target with their underperforming team. That's where you get your credibility from. That's where you start the conversation, because they're then thinking, oh, Drew's mentioned this sort of thing before in one of his posts or one of his emails or whatever. And if your message can resonate with the hiring manager, they're going to be more likely to engage with you, because what they're thinking is, yeah, this guy raised some really good points here, and he really understands, or she really understands where I am in my business right now. And that's what you're looking for, to start that relationship at that level, rather than a cold, we've never met before, you've never heard of me, and I want you to pay me, 11, 15,000 upfront for a retainer, as an example.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
100%. So think about the candidates you place, and think about the outcome those candidates can make to an organization or department or whatever it is, right? So it could, again, I'll use rec to rec as an example, right? If I place recruitment consultants, my candidates can help increase revenue. They can help bring additional accounts. They can help if they've got the experience. They can help you start getting more retained or exclusive deals. They can, there's lots of things they can do that isn't recruitment based, right? So think about the outcome that your candidates can do and start talking about that in your content and in your marketing as well, rather than just talking about recruitment. Because not everybody wants a recruiter right now, but everybody wants increased revenue, or everybody wants to win, the things that I spoke about, right? So think about the outcomes that your candidates can give the organization, and look at how can I put that into my messaging? How can I put that into my outbound scripts or my emails or whatever it is? The clearer we can get on that, the more attention we can get off the entire market. And what it gives you is a consistent flow of clients, right? Because we're not just getting people that have a demand right now, we're getting people that have a demand, months or even sometimes years out. Okay, just want to check in. Does that make sense before we move on to number 5? Give me yes or no in the chat box. So yeah, Kyler or Killer said, I think I've failed at this by trying too hard to focus on how we'll connect with the business and not the outcome. Yeah. And I think most recruiters do, right? This is probably like we said before, that a lot of recruiters struggle with business development. This is probably the main reason. It's not because they don't have the technique, right? They don't know. Every recruiter knows how to make a cold call or how to send an email or do. They know the tactics. It's just the messaging's off, because they're always talking about recruitment. So if I'm in any market, if I've got 100 prospects and I do outreach to 100 prospects and say, look, effectively, who's got any vacancies, who's got any roles, I might get them, and there might be like 2 who are actually hiring right now. The max response I can get is 2 people, right? Because it's 2 that are hiring right now. And the problem is my 10 other competitors message the same 2 people to the same type of message, so they might even ignore me, right? But if I start talking about the outcome that my candidates can give, every one of those prospects is going to be interested. And again, some will still ignore you, that happens, but at least I can get their attention first off. So again, the goal is to be top of mind when they're ready to hire, rather than just being there at the hiring stage whenever every other recruiter is also there as well. You want to be the first person they think of before that hiring need occurs. So Paloma said, just reading this live, I'd like to bring a case to the conversation. We normally engage well with hiring managers that are aware and would like to work with us, but they cannot get approval from HR to work with us. HR takes months to fill their roles, but the hiring manager cannot select recruitment firms by themselves. Wasn't there any thoughts on that?
No, I didn't understand the question, actually.
It wasn't really a question. I guess it's just a point. So Paloma said, we normally engage well with hiring managers that are aware and would like to work with us, but they cannot get approved from HR to work with us. HR takes months to fill their roles, but the hiring manager cannot select recruitment firms for themselves, right? So this is someone who I'd say would be product aware, right? They're not ready to buy right now because they need HR to, I guess fail first. But again, sometimes we're ignoring those people, or ignoring people that are solution aware, problem aware, and unaware. Awesome. Perfect. Any questions, let me know in the chat box. Moving on to number 5. Rule number 5 is to protect your time. So rule number 5 is to protect your time, which is probably one of the biggest ones. Again, this is fairly obvious in a sense. It's something probably heard in a million and one of trainings or webinars like this from different trainers or different sectors, but you need to be very precious about where you're putting your time, right? So, and again, this is one of the things we do when we work with recruiters is the first thing we do is we look at the calendar, and then we can see very quick fixes based on how much or how little focus they're putting on what we call RGAs, or revenue generating activities. So things that you can do that bring revenue into your business. So I think, especially when you're starting out, right, you're the doer of everything, right? You're spinning all these plates. You're the coffee and tea maker. You're answering the phones. You're doing the website. You're doing pretty much everything, and there's a need for that, especially at the beginning. But as you grow and as you start to bring revenue in, you need to get that off your plate ASAP, so you can focus on the revenue generating activities, right? RGA. Sometimes it's hard to do as a solo recruiter, but even as the team grows, it's hard to do, right? You're getting sucked into management, you're getting sucked into your consultant who's have problems at home, you're getting sucked into all these little things that are taking you away from your key activities. Or big one here, you're getting sucked into working and speaking with clients, especially for contingency. This is working and speaking with clients, and working on vacancies where you're never going to fill them and therefore you never get paid. Again, if you're contingency, this is probably the biggest suck on your revenues. If you're working on 10 job orders just to fill 3, which means that 7 of them you're getting unpaid for. You're putting all that time, energy, effort, and you're going unpaid, which means that time, energy, effort is time, energy, effort that you're taking away from your family quite frankly, right? Less time you could spend with your kids, could have spent with your partner, could have spent with on a hobby, whatever. But you're spending it with the on these vacancies you're never going to fill. The reason I say that is, one of the big things that we're big on is as soon as possible going down the exclusive where you're the only recruiter working the vacancy or retained route. The reason being, the fill rates are just so much higher. We go from filling 30% of the job orders we work on to filling 90%, which means we're getting paid for the work you're doing. Again, it's important for you to get paid for the work that you do. Again, just want to check in, just give me a yes or no in the chat box if that makes sense, or any questions on that. And Terry, anything you want to add?
Yeah, we talked earlier about if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And often when we ask, in particular, contingent recruiters, what's your fill rate? Most contingent recruiters are quite optimistic and say, oh, it's quite high. I probably fill 40, 60%. When we look closer at the numbers, that's very rare, by the way, and it's going to hover around about 30%. And as Drew said, if you're filling 30% of the roles, it means that 70% of the time you're working, you're not getting paid. Just let that sink in for a moment. 70% of the time you're working, you're not generating any income whatsoever. And Drew talked about time. The one thing with time, of all the other factors out there, is the one thing you can't replace is time. Once it's gone, it's gone. You can lose money, you can lose a business, you can lose good friends and replace all those things. You can't replace time. And I think it's really easy. And I think Darryl said in here is a solo recruiter, and a lot of you guys may well be solo recruiters. And you can, before you know it, you haven't got a business, you've got a job, because you're doing everything. You're mopping the floors, you're doing the invoices, you're chasing the clients, you're chasing the candidates. That isn't a business, that's a job. And you're often, in that case, a pretty poorly paid job as well. And you really want to look at what you can automate, what you can outsource to somebody else to do. So could somebody else answer your phone? Something as simple as that. So could you get another company to answer your phone? In the UK, you'd pay about £60, about $70 a month for somebody to answer your phone and manage your diary. So they have access, say, to your Google Diary, and they can manage that for you. So you're now not getting interrupted all the time by clients and candidates trying to get hold of you as you're trying to find candidates. When you're trying to arrange the interviews, why couldn't you outsource that to somebody else to arrange the interviews and say to them, I want to work for me for 15, 20 hours a week arranging interviews, or whatever it is? Your time really should be spent on the revenue generating activities. A lot of that is being in front of hiring managers and having those conversations about what's coming up in the future, because that's where the revenue is. And without the revenue, you haven't got a business. So it's really important you get your head around it. And it takes quite a mind shift to go, crikey, I haven't got a business. I've just got a poorly paid job where I do everything. Absolutely everything. You want to look very closely at that and make better use of your time. Back to you, Drew.
Again, just want to check in. Does that make sense? Give us a yes in the chat box. Yes or no. Obviously, if it doesn't make sense. And if there's any questions, let us know as well. Happy to answer them. Awesome. James said it resonates. Man said yes. Bob Shaw. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, Beverly said that, just going back to the time thing, that's me working on hard to fill jobs, very frustrating, and for such little money. And again, this is something I'm really, really passionate about.
Yeah.
So, and I think part of the problem with this is it can go unnoticed when you're doing well, right? So sometimes, I mean, just the other week I spoke to a solo recruiter who'd done 300K around thereabouts, 300K, but had only been filling 30% of the roles they're working on, right? So it's like, yeah, you've done 300K, but you should have been doing 1 million. And again, you need to think about this. So don't just look at this when it's going well. Sorry, when it's going badly. I think it's evident when it's going badly, but even when you're have a good month or a good quarter or a good year, it's still the same problem. Get clear on what the filter the jobs you're winning. Get clear on the ones that you're going to fill and the ones that you're not. And the easy way to do that is to get exclusive agreements in place. Awesome. Perfect. So moving on to number 6. Again, I just want to do a quick recap just before we go to the last one. Number 1 is positioning yourself at the top of the mountain. So it's about positioning. We talked about self-positioning, market positioning, competitive positioning. Number 2 is set your fee to create freedom. So this is about the pricing model that you choose. Number 3 is target mission critical roles. Number 4, it's all about dominating the attention of your potential prospects, dominating your market at each stage of their awareness. Number 5 is protect your time. And then number 6 is about speed, and so specifically speed of implementation. So to get to the level that you want in business, and again, it's going to be different for all of you, but whatever it is, whatever that number is for you, whatever that business is for you, there's going to be things or actions you need to take, steps you need to take. And it could be, we could look at it in terms of number of calls that you make, number of offers that you make, number of candidates. It doesn't matter what it is. There's certain metrics that need to go into that hitting that goal, right? That no matter what business size it is, the quicker you can do those things, the quicker you can do those steps. And again, it sounds really obvious, but it's I think it's something that's missed a lot. The quicker you can do the steps, the quicker you can get to your goal, right? If you've been in, I don't care how long you've been in business, right? If you've been in business like 1 month, 2 months, 10 years, whatever, it doesn't matter. You've got a series of, you've got data that's telling you what you need to do next. So if you've been in business a year, and let's say you've done 100,000 in your first year in business, if you look back over the year, you will see the data, right? You see how many calls you made, how many clients you work with, the average fee, the average LinkedIn messages, all the activity will be should be if you're tracking it. Once we've got that, if we want to then do 100K in a month rather than 100K in a year, I just need to find out how can I condense that activity into 1 month, or how can I condense that activity in 6 months, or how do I optimize that activity so it getting me better results. Again, if I want to check in, does that make sense? Give me a yes or no in the chat box. And again, I know it's fairly simple, but you'll be surprised at, or you may be surprised at, how many recruiters just don't look back at their past years or past months in business and think, what can I do with this data? Right. I mean, we've all got it, right? You've got, no matter how, even if a month goes badly, you've got data. A month goes well, you've got data. Okay, look, how can we fit that? How can we condense it into a week? Right. If you can take your last year in business and condense that into 6 months or 3 months or 1 month, think about where your business will be. And again, it's not rocket science. So, same number of calls, same number of messages, same number of clients. It's not rocket science to do that. It's just a case of looking back at the data and working out how we can do it. What do we need to put in place? And it may be that you need to optimize some of it. So maybe you look at it and think, what, I can't do those numbers. I can't do those numbers in a month because my fee and because of the fees too low. But what I can do is I can work with less clients, but put my fee up, so I can hit the same fee in a month. Right? So I'm checking. Does that make sense? Give me a yes or no in the chat box. And Terry, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I remember coaching a recruiter on this years ago, and he said, "Wow," he said, "once you get this, it's like print a mini." And I thought, how true is that? If you've got this data, if I send out 2,000 emails, it's going to generate me 20 meetings. Of those 20 meetings, I'm going to get 10 job orders. Of those 10 job orders, I'm going to fill 2 of them.
Yeah.
You now know what you need to do to double your sales. Because now you send out twice as many emails, you should get twice as many meetings. Do you see where we're going there? And if you say, well, actually, I'm working on 20 jobs now to fill 4 of them, what if I was to optimize that and maybe only work on 10 jobs, but fill 5 of them? But we keep talking about it's imperative that you know your numbers. Because whatever happens, as Drew said, to get to wherever you want to get to, and let's call it 1 million, there's certain activity that you have to do. You can either do it one bit at a time, every few weeks or so, or you can go, actually, I'm going to do it now. And I'm going to do it in the next 6 months rather than the next 6 years. But again, it's a decision that you have to make. When you can get your head around it, I have to say, clients that have got their head around it, it's been transformational for them, because when you really get it, you go, shoot, I realize where I'm wasting my time now. Or I realize I haven't got the data. They're the 2 most common statements we get back. I haven't got the data to measure this, or I've been wasting my time for the last 2, 3, 5 years.
Yeah.
Just to answer this, Adam, sending more emails to the same people makes them switch their email off. Right? No, it's not actually. A percentage of the people will unsubscribe. That's a fact. I want to be absolutely clear about that. And you have to fact.
Just to cut into it, just get more people.
Yeah, I just about to add that. Yeah,
it's just like you just get. There's so many recruiters that operate in such a small network of prospects. I just get if every month, right, you email or reach out to 100 people just for the sake of this, and you get a certain number of results. If you double the number of people you reach out to, just get another 100, you would double your results. Again, it's very simplistic to view it that way, but we've seen it so many times. That's the way it is. That's literally it.
And if you then say, well, we're going to lose some, and you will, some people of those 100, 2, 5, maybe 10 will unsubscribe. Replace them, but you replace them, but The more people that see your message, if you think it's the opposite, the less people that see your message, the more business you get, you're sadly mistaken. One of the reasons right now that you haven't got the business that you want is that the potential clients who could buy from you have never heard of you. If you think by sending less messages, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Facebook, whether it's whatever it is, that you're going to get more business, it's sadly mistaken. If you think by making less calls, you'll get more business, it's not going to happen. You need to do more of whatever it is that gets you those meetings.
Awesome. So that's it for today. Thanks a lot for everyone's time. If you do wanna speak to us one-on-one, know a bit more detail, know about our programs, if you go to makemoreplacements.com/call, I'm gonna put the link in the chat box now. And click that, you can book a 15-minute call with one of our specialists. What they'll do is they'll speak to you, they will hook you up with another free training based on whatever challenges you've got in your business. And then also, if it's right, you can speak to one of our advisors about our programs, how that work as well. Mark said, "Will we get a copy of the presentation?" So I'm gonna offer the recording out in the Make More Placements community on Facebook, right? So if you go to Facebook and search Make More Placements, there's a Facebook group there. So I'm gonna drop the recording to that. In fact, let me get the link for you. So it's facebook.com/groups/Make More Placements. So I'm gonna put the link in there as well. I'm gonna drop the recording in there. Awesome. Thanks a lot for your time, guys. We'll speak with you very, very soon. Thanks again, Terry, for your input as always.
Not at all. Until next time, folks, take care, take action, be relentless.